The 2016 Hyundai Genesis Coupe, a rear-wheel drive sports car that never received a V8 engine, although it probably should have, and it's kind of too late because 2016 is its last model year. I'm Jay, and welcome to this latest episode of Carbuzz Unboxing Reviews. And before I get started, I want to thank Nicholas Parks Hyundai for letting Carbuzz come on down and film this car for you today. So like I said, 2016, yeah, it's probably the very last year of the Hyundai Genesis Coupe. As you know, and as I mentioned in the previous unboxing review of the new Genesis G80 sedan, Genesis has been turned into its own premium brand, separate from Hyundai, but it still kind of remains to be seen whether or not the Genesis Coupe will have a direct successor. And it's kind of a shame if it doesn't, because there's so much going for this car, and like I mentioned in the beginning with that intro there, that I think this thing should have had a V8 engine from the get-go, but it just, well, it was never given that. Now, the Genesis Coupe first went on sale for 2009, and it was given an update in 2013, which is the car that you see here. Now, the updates were improved engine outputs, as well as new front and rear end styling, and an improved interior. So overall, looking at this car's exterior design, and I'll get more into the details about it in a few minutes, I like it. It's not an offensive looking car, and when it first came out, I really liked that character line across the side there above the door handles. It just looked really good, but over the years, it's just sort of become kind of bland. Now, this interior, like I said, when it was updated for 2013, it was a very good update because the initial interior of this car was, well, it was not the best. And you can still see remnants of that with a few hard plastics throughout, but I don't think anything really that serious. Now, this interior, they call it's a black and tan mix, and, I like it. It looks good. And something else you have to remember about the Genesis Coupe, it is riding on the same platform as the previous generation Hyundai Genesis. And essentially it's just, it's a coupe version of that car. And there are a couple of rear seats, even though just like in the Porsche 911, they are absolutely useless. They're just best left for children. And when you see an adult back there shortly, it's not a comfortable place to be at all. But the rest of this interior, I just have to say, it's nice. I think the quality of the leather is really good. And it's, the other main complaint I have about it, and you'll see that shortly, is the shift lever. It doesn't have a nice knob at the top. And again, I'm getting kind of nitpicky here, but I don't know if that's entirely fair for a car that, again, it dates back to 2009 at its core. And you can start seeing this car's age just by looking at that driver's gauge computer there. It's tiny, and when you see what else is out there today, it's just bland. But the rest of this interior is, it's nice. I don't think it stands out anymore. Maybe it never did. And there's that shifter I was saying. I don't like that shift knob at the top. It's not really good to grab when you're really trying to shift. You have that standard 7-inch touchscreen nav system there. You'll see that in a moment as well. There it is. Yeah, it's okay. Look, compared to the newer stuff that Hyundai and Kia, its sister company, are coming out with, as well as Genesis, the system is a little dated, but hopefully if there is a successor to the Genesis Coupe, but Hyundai still just hasn't confirmed it yet, it will be given the latest infotainment system out there. And you can also tell by the rest of the controls here on the dash, it's, again, you see this car's age. But I don't think that's always going to be a negative because, the Genesis Coupe is still a pretty good value. And like I said, I'll get to more details such as pricing in a few minutes, but I don't want anyone to discard the Genesis Coupe as just, it's done for after 2016, just let it go, who cares? No, this is still a performance coupe worth looking at, because for starters, standard rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive is not even offered here, so this thing really does have performance cred. Now, I do like those gauge readers right there. I think it's kind of a sporty touch, but I think they're kind of too low in the dash. I really think they should be placed much up higher so that the driver can just look over and not even have to tilt their head down to see them. Again, it's sort of a design flaw, I think, because when the Genesis Coupe first came out, it was one of Hyundai's first efforts into building a real sports car, and it's learned from its mistakes through trial and error since then. And in fact, Hyundai has plucked BMW M's former chief engineer to run its new N Performance division. That's a huge deal. We've seen Hyundai's prototypes testing on the Nürburgring in Germany, so we know Hyundai is serious about performance, and that's why I'm kind of excited for, well, what could be the Genesis Coupe successor. So I want to talk about this car's competition because you might be wondering, well, what's its direct competitors? And that's a very easy question. You're going to have cars like the Subaru BRZ and its twin, the Toyota 86. I would also toss in the Nissan 370Z and Ford Mustang and Chevrolet Camaro. Reason being, those are all rear-wheel drive vehicles. Yes, the Mustang and Camaro are also convertibles, but they come as coupes as well, and that's what this is. Again, I'm comparing apples to apples here. And the pricing is, well, it's about the same, at least for the base price. Now, there's two ways you could look at the Genesis Coupe. You could see it as both like a weekend track toy, as well as a less expensive luxury coupe. Now, the Genesis Coupe previously came with a twin-turbo 2-liter inline-4 with 274 horsepower and 275 pound-feet of torque as the base engine, but that was dropped last year. And the only engine you can get now is a naturally aspirated 3.8-liter V6. I'll show you that in a moment, too. But again, this car was never offered with a V8, and I think that was Hyundai's mistake. A V8 engine would have done really, really well in this car. Front engine, rear wheel drive. Imagine having a V8. That's just a recipe for success there, but I don't know. I think Hyundai was just a little too scared to go and take that extra step. Now, some other interior features, while we're still in the interior here, is a standard 360 Infinity 10-speaker audio system. You also get Bluetooth, automatic temperature control, push-button start, standard sports seats, powered driver's seat with lumbar support, and aluminum pedals. Now, just so that you know that this is the particular Genesis Coupe is the 3.8 top trim level you can get right now, the ultimate. And yeah, it does mean it is the most expensive, but not by a considerable amount. See what I mean? Rear seats. Useless. What are you going to put back there? Maybe some groceries, that's it. With having such small rear seats like that, if you need bigger rear seats, go for the Genesis sedan. That's simple. But what's nice, the fact, is that since this was based on a sedan platform originally, you're going to get a nice sized trunk here too, and the rear seat folds down flat completely for, of course, added storage space. Other safety features that you get as standard are electronic stability and traction control, ABS brakes, rear parking distance sensors, front side, and side curtain airbags. And, well, I want to tell you how this thing drives because I know that matters for people in the market for a performance coupe. Well, for starters, you get a track suspension with this, a 5-link independent rear suspension, Brembo braking system, a limited slip differential, and I think all those things together really add up. They make a difference. There's even a 3-stage traction and stability control system that can be switched off from, when you want to hit the track or attempt some drifting. Again, this car has so much potential, and it's been a favorite for aftermarket tuners. And I know a lot of them have been swapping out the engine, putting in a V8 instead. Speaking of engines, this is it. Naturally aspirated 3.8-liter V6, 348 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. Power in this car is sent to the rear wheels through a 6-speed manual transmission. You can get an optional 8-speed automatic with paddle shifters, but just don't bother. I think the manual is just fine. You got to spend an extra $1,200 to get the automatic, and I just don't think it's that much fun anymore. And yeah, that engine, it does sound pretty good. It's a naturally aspirated V6. 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.2 seconds. Top speed is electronically limited to 151 miles per hour. Fuel economy, 17 miles per gallon in the city, 24 on the highway, and a combined 19. So, it's not bad, but when you have newer cars today, like the turbo engines in the Mustang and Camaro getting even better fuel economy numbers, it kind of makes the case for this car a little more difficult. But this exterior here, like I mentioned earlier, I like it. It's painted, this particular car, in Ibiza blue. It's got a power sunroof, 19-inch wheels with summer tires, LED daytime running lights, LED taillights, xenon automatic headlights with fog lights, and a rear spoiler. That all comes standard. And again, just like with any Hyundai, you're getting a lot of value packed into this car. And yeah, that front end, if you've seen it before, it's no coincidence. It's literally the same front end styling as the Hyundai Veloster. And this is what Hyundai calls this fluidic sculpture styling. Now, if you compare this to, let's say, the brand new Elantra, check out my unboxing review of that as well, you'll see that this is sort of 5 years ago's styling language. Fluidic sculpture has been updated ever since. It's a little bit more mature and angled off. And what I think is Hyundai is going to be doing is they're trying to mature the brand even more. And the more sports, youth-oriented cars are going to be badged as Kias instead. But looking at this Genesis Coupe's overall dimensions, they're nice. I love the fact that there's that front, short front overhang there that looks really, really nice. And again, I gotta keep mentioning, I like that wedged in character line above the door handles going right across there. That was just a cool touch. And I really do respect Hyundai for making a really, really good effort with this car. For the first time around of building, a rear-wheel drive V6 sports coupe. It's not easy to do, especially when the competition is so fierce. So what do I like about this car? Well, as I keep mentioning, I think that it's a really nice, naturally aspirated V6 engine, and the sound sounds really good too. I do like the design, especially from the exterior. It's different. What don't I like? Well, as I mentioned a couple times there, the rear seat is just borderline useless. The automatic transmission, it's slow. Again, stick to the manual, save $1,200. And again, on the inside, why are those gauges placed so low? And then, again, this is coming back to the overall pricing and macro factor here. It's just not so much a performance bargain anymore. Again, you have the new Camaro, the new Mustang. They both offer those turbo 4-bangers. Those are great values. So let's talk pricing. Now, a base Genesis Coupe, the 3.8 model, only V6 is available, remember. Base price is $26,950. The mid-level 3.8 R-Spec, $29,900. Now, the 3.8 Ultimate, which is this car, it has a base price, $33,750. This car, the only extra feature it has, $55 wheel locks. That's it, plus the $895 destination fee. Grand total for this is $34,700. Now, that's not bad. It's really, really not. But you have to remember, you can get a 5-liter V8 Mustang for about the same price. And again, it's just, when you compare apples to apples like that, I'm going to have to go with the Mustang or even the Camaro. I like the Genesis Coupe. It's just out of date. But if you're looking to buy one, now is probably the absolute best time because dealerships are just trying to get them off their own lots. Now's the time. 2016, no replacement. Now is the time to buy one of these things, and I'm sure you can probably get the top trim Ultimate for a lesser price, but I think you should also be aware that if you want a manual transmission car, they are more difficult to find. For some reason, Hyundai just built more of these with the 8-speed automatic, and again, I think that was kind of a mistake. So I'm out of time for today, everyone. So thanks so much for watching. If you have any more questions for me, just leave them in the comment section below. Any suggestions for future unboxing reviews, also leave those in the comment section. And I'll see you on my next review.